Hello, everybody. We are back. It is On the Raritan, episode 5, Idle Paranoia. And before we even talk about this episode, I think we have to bring up a very important thing that happened. And there was change. And that change was the fact that, Max, you took a step down from editing the episodes this time, and you let me have a chance. So before we talk into episode 5, Max, what have you been doing instead of editing the episodes?
I'm glad you asked, Peter. Now that I'm the current president of Rutgers Survivor, I have been taking the charge in casting season 2 and getting all the details for season 2 sorted out. And I've had wonderful help from the rest of the e-board, which is made up of current contestants or season 1 contestants. I guess current if you're talking about what's airing, but it's me. Matt is the vice president, Logan is the treasurer, and Kevin's the secretary. And the four of us have done a lot of work in the past few weeks, watching audition videos, coming up with the cast, splitting people into tentative tribes, and just contacting our cast members and seeing what times work for them as far as shooting goes. And things are going really well. Hopefully, we can start shooting either end of October, beginning of November. And I'm really excited for it to start.
Dude, and that's honestly awesome. I love, how this club is having longevity. We're going into year 2. The processor is still there, and now you're just starting over again with a whole new cast. And yeah, dude, pretty soon before you know it, you're going to be recording the season 2 finale. It's going to be
Oh my
honestly
God.
incredible. So we
No,
don't
I
want to
couldn't.
get. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say I couldn't have said it better myself, Peter. Like longevity is one of the things we were aiming for. We weren't sure if we would get it. We just wanted to finish season 1. But the fact that it's in such good hands, Max, with you and the rest of the e-board, like there is that legitimate longevity, and that's been proven by the fact that you were able to cast the season 2 in the first place. People actually want to play this game and do what we're offering, and that is what I'm most honored. Even though it sucks that me and Peter aren't a part of it anymore. I mean, we're getting jealous, I
Well,
think.
you know
But
what? I wouldn't say you're not a part of it because let me tell you, in these auditions, uh, last year, I know for the audition, the question we had in the application was something like, what makes you a good fit for Rutgers Survivor? We changed the question this season. It was kind of 2 questions molded into one. It was, why do you want to be on Rutgers Survivor, and how would you approach the game? Um, and a lot of some of the contestants, I definitely 2, I remember mentioned how in order to prepare for their audition, they watched through Rutgers Survivor season 1.
Let's
that's
go.
actually
That's
incredible.
The episodes
that's
that are
that's
currently
awesome.
aired.
And
There
I
was
know
one guy in his audition who turned the camera around and showed that he was watching the show on YouTube, like right in the middle of when he was recording his audition. It,
that
it
is
was so
phenomenal.
cool to see.
You
And
see, that's the dream, though, like that, and that honestly means so much. I don't know who it is, but I'm looking forward to seeing how that person and really everyone on season 2 plays out.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly, Adam. And Max, I've heard rumors that there's going to be some very, go fast, go hard play type of players, and it's going to be awesome. But now I think we're going to move into episode 5 because that's what we're here to talk about. This episode was honestly a really interesting episode from my perspective to edit because there's just so many pieces that get put together, so many different things happen, and I'm sure if anybody here who's watched the episode knows a lot of stuff goes down. But I think the important part is to remember where we started. So where we started from this was Jack just went home. So
Oh,
duo the dynamic duo of Kevin and Jack is no more, which is very unfortunate. But Kevin still lives on in the game in this episode, and
with the Yankees hat.
with the
Yeah.
Yankees hat, with New York Jacks Yankees hat, and he's coming out swinging. And he has a plan going in to this episode, and the plan is basically win. But if he doesn't win, we'll see what happens. So, yeah, Adam, what did you have to think or say about the beginning of this episode? What did you think?
Honestly, I think you summarized that very first part as well as you could. I feel like it after Jack left, it was fairly straightforward. It's basically a 5v1 situation with Kevin being in a way, the only former Voorhees member. Obviously, Gia flipped and went with the Whirlwind tribe. So with Kevin being outnumbered, he knows he has to win. Or, at least that's the perception that that's being given at the start of episode, and he was aware, really looking forward to that challenge to try to win immunity. And I don't know if we're going straight into talking into the challenge or not. I don't want to say anything else until then. But
It's okay. Yeah, I think maybe Max, do you have anything to touch on the dynamics of the tribe before we head into this challenge, which is a very revealing challenge, but we're going to get into that. Max, do you have anything else you want to say about the dynamics?
Yeah, so Kevin believes he's on the outs. He doesn't see much of a path besides win. But as we saw in the confessionals at the end of episode 4, John is starting to think that he may want to take Logan out. He thinks that Logan might have the idol. He thinks that even if Matt has the idol, he wants to take out Logan. We see John's opening confessional, his really awesome opening confessional that you edited in a very
Thank you.
cool
I love,
way.
dude. That was my that up. That
Mhm.
was the. I mean, it was the first thing I edited, but as soon as I saw, I just saw all the jump
I
cuts.
loved that so much. So
So
there's just
dramatic.
something about it.
But yeah, you're perfectly right, Max. You're highlighting the fact that there are starting to form cracks, or if they've already haven't been
Mhm.
formed, they're starting to show up now. Where and this always happens, if a final five, if a group of five people in an alliance make it to a final five, not all five can win. One wins.
Mhm.
So somewhere along the line, some weights have to fall. Something has to fracture. And you perfectly highlighted that with John wanting to target Logan. And I think this will get exacerbated into the challenge. And do you want to talk a little bit about this challenge? Because I think we
Yeah.
all tried to come. So basically, a little background behind this challenge is this was the hardest episode for us to think of a challenge for because for those of you who know that we said this on episode 1, we had to come up with all the challenges like in 24 hours. And this was the very last one that we had to try to figure out because we had the running challenge for episode 2, trivia episode 1. We had our final 4 challenge planned out, which was going to be great. But this final 6 vote was just, or final 6 challenge was just so hard to come up with. And I even remember Adam saying, how about we have them take a quiz? And Adam said, well, if you don't want them to watch it anymore, sure. And then I was like, yeah, that's a bad idea. But
I
luckily,
remember that.
I don't think it was me. So it was one of you two who
I,
came up with
yeah,
the
Peter,
untouchy.
I think it was me here because as some we might have said before, but as some people may know, me and Peter were obviously roommates at Rutgers for 2 years. So a lot of what we did in our free time, just that night, we popped on Paramount Plus and just decided to watch an old season of Survivor. And I believe at that time we might have been watching Panama and season 12 Panama. I'm not going to say anything that will spoil, but there's a very famous episode or moment, I should say, that revolves around the challenge untouchy subjects,
We're
where
touchy
contestants say,
subjects in the real
Touchy subjects in
in the real
Survivor.
show, but we made it
Mhm.
untouchy subjects because
thank you.
we're still
We don't want anyone to be
exactly. We
offended.
don't want anyone to
So
be
there's the untouchy subjects right there. But that's exactly our play on it. Like we wanted to be able to do something different than just another relay race or another puzzle. Like we have to have some creativity, and it just felt like probably because we were watching Panama at the time, but I just had that idea so ingrained in my mind that wait a sec, if we at least approach the questions respectfully, this could be a really good challenge.
Yeah, and Max, sorry, I was trying to get to you, but I kind of spindled off there. That's my bad.
No, you're good, man.
Yeah, about this challenge, would you like to talk about it, like maybe some of the questions that were asked, or anything else that you found interesting about the challenge?
Yeah. So once we kind of prefaced all of the questions, when we were coming up with the questions, the one thing is like, we're not going to ask any questions that will offend anyone. We won't ask any questions that may be controversial. All of the questions we ask will be game related, or if it's
And
not specifically related to the game, it'll at least be positive.
yeah,
So, we knew that we wanted some of the questions to be, somewhat playful, not too serious. And then by the end, you get who's the most strategic player? Who do you think is going to win this game? And I was really excited for that because, I feel like the last couple rounds of the game, it was a little straightforward. I think they produced a lot of entertaining content those last 2 episodes, but, things were a little straightforward. So I feel like this is the perfect time to have a challenge where things might get revealed, people's intentions might get put out there and things might be able to mix up a little bit.
Yeah, and you see people's real opinions or what they are presenting as their real opinions, and we're going to get into that later. And I guess just the two ironic moments in this challenge that I think are funny to bring up is one of the questions was, who do you think would be the next host? And Matt didn't get picked, but he is the next host, for season 2. And the other one was, who do you think has the idol? And everyone said it was Kevin, which makes sense because he's trying to. He presented a fake idol last time, and people are worried that he has it because it could have been Kevin and Jack in the last episode. But once again, Matt has the idol, as we know. So it's very,
I just sorry to interrupt. I have a theory about that. So I don't know if people picked Kevin because they actually thought Kevin had the idol. I think they were all kind of thinking, because no one played it last time, that it was someone in their alliance who had the idol. But I also think that they didn't want to show their cards that they might want to turn on each other yet, or that they suspect anything of each other. So I think they all just wrote Kevin down just to be safe, just so that they don't turn any of the heads in their own alliance.
Well, we know from one of the confessionals later on that that's exactly what John was doing. The question is, were the other 5 thinking the same thing? And I guess we'll never know.
Well, we do know that Matt was, when he was having a conversation with John later in the scramble, he did mention that he just started putting himself for all the questions. And you can kind of notice that. Wait,
was that? I think that was John, right?
Well, Matt also said, it was hard to hear, but he also said, because for all the questions, he said, well, maybe besides the Kevin one, he voted himself to be the host. He voted himself to be the funniest.
Yeah.
That was his strategy.
And I know John did that towards the end to throw it to Ashi, right?
Exactly. Because once he knew, okay, we're getting really into the scramble now, but okay, I guess we should kind of go our way back. And like you said, the two major questions was, who do you think has the idol, and who do you think will win this game? So in the terms of the challenge, Kevin got the idol question, but Logan, interestingly, got that question, who do you think will win this game? And that was a real eye-opener to Logan, because Logan thought this whole time he was, kind of flowing under the radar a little bit, but that kind of really woke him up and was like, okay, wait, do people actually think I'm going to win this game, or do people think they're just throwing that out there? But, it was almost a pretty large consensus. I think Matt voted himself, but other than that, I think every single person voted Logan. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I don't remember the exact results, but I know that it was a decisive win for Logan. I'm pretty sure.
Which can be,
and that's exactly what.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say.
Very revealing. Adam, I'll let you go. But in this type of game, like you said, Max, this is where people will show their cards, or maybe not show their cards. They might still continue live, but a lot of stuff can be unraveled in this challenge and shift up the whole entire game, and it could cause those cracks, which is what I mentioned before, to possibly break even more. And Adam, sorry, what would you like to say?
No, that's all I was going to say. Just that this is exactly what this challenge was designed to do. And as Max said, final 6 being kind of the perfect positioning for a challenge like this. I mean, we had no idea how the game is actually going to play out once we're doing it, but it kind of worked perfectly in this case, and pretty evident. And I guess, Peter, now it's up to you whether we transition into a scramble or not, see what Logan may do about that perception. But
yeah, we're gonna get to the scramble. But yeah, just from an editor's perspective too, this challenge was just really fun to edit as well, because you obviously know that the contestants are very involved, and even the viewers are very involved, because this is the first time, besides confessionals, that we can get direct answers to very specific questions about the game. So just editing that, and trying to get that feel, especially the music too. That was something I wanted to bring up previously too. But my big goal for this episode was to really focus on different music. To kind of have a different feel, and also to focus kind of more on the entertainment value. You see that, and now we're going to move into the scramble, because you're going to see that there's a lot of cutting back and forth very quickly to various different people. Like Matt and John are talking, but then the other 3 are talking, and then Ashi and G are talking, and then Logan and Kevin are, you know what I mean? Like there's a bunch of different stuff going on all at once. And so, yeah, I think we're going to head into the scramble, but I guess what I should say first is we kind of briefly went over it, but Ashi does end up winning this challenge. And that kind of, it seems to put Kevin in the grave here. You know what I mean? Kevin seems to be struck out, but as Max mentioned, he has a master plan. What, sorry?
No, I was citing Kevin.
Oh, pain and suffering. I'm so sorry. Pain and suffering.
Pain, misery, suffering.
Yeah, pain, misery, suffering. And that was another funny moment to edit when Ashi's like, congratulations, Ashi, you win. Pain, misery, suffering.
It was great, and I didn't even, and I had no clue. Like even when we went back to footage after the season, for some reason I did not know that Kevin said that in his confessional. So when I watched the rough cut of what you were editing, Peter, my jaw just dropped in laughter. I'm like, okay.
And those were the moments I really wanted to highlight in the editing. I really wanted this because this is the first time, we mentioned this last time, how kind of all the fears are gone about, being in front of a camera and recording. There were absolutely no fears. They were going completely for each other, at this point. They were going ruthless, trying to outmaneuver each other strategically. And you can just tell that it provided really good entertainment value along with the music that I used, I think extra highlighted that. But Max, would you like to talk about anything regarding the beginning of the scramble?
Okay. So before I address the beginning of the scramble, I want to go back to the very beginning where John has that opening confessional in the car, and he talks about how every person who he's wanted to go home has gone home. He's decided on the plan for every single round. And I don't really think John is wrong. I think in the most technical sense, he has decided like how the votes are going to be split for the last few tribals.
Yeah.
However, John overestimates the power that he holds over the other people in his alliance. John is a very skilled player. He has been great with coming up with all these vote splits and sussing people out. Specifically when he sussed Joe out, and he was able to realize what Joe was trying to do and when Joe was coming up with all his different plans. But what John doesn't realize is that the rest of the Wordland tribe has an alliance without him. And they've been letting him come up with all these plans and implement all these plans, but they've been there the whole time. Logan, Matt, and Ashi in a three. We haven't seen how the result of that yet, but we do see how John's overconfidence leads into sort of a start of something maybe not so good for John. We don't know how it turns out, but we do see later in the episode where John is like, this is the first vote that I'm not happy with. And that's all I'm going to say for now, because I don't want to spoil what's going to be said in the rest of this podcast and in future episodes. But I think the thesis for this episode, especially with the title, like pulling the strings, is that John isn't pulling the strings.
That's a really interesting take, too. And you even see this in the episode right before this one. John said, "Hey, I have the whole confession about going with duos. He could go with the sisters, he could go with Jack and Kevin, he could go with Logan and Matt." But I guess the problem with that is, I feel like in a certain way he almost kind of, in this sense here, forgot that the other players on Warbland, they could be possibly making alliances with each other, and thinking that you're in control of the votes. I don't know. It could lead to something you not want to happen, but let's see. We'll talk about that more later. And Adam, I guess again now going way back into the scramble now. But thank you, Max, for that interesting take with that. Starting off the scramble, we have the group of all of them together, and I think John even says, guess what? I really don't think Kevin has the idol here. I don't care that one of us has it. Just let's please get him out. This is the easiest vote we can do, so we're all safe. And Logan, even then it cuts to a confessional with Logan saying, "Yeah, I think it's pretty easy here. We're gonna get Kevin out." And yeah, Adam, do you have anything to add to that?
Honestly, I think at that point in the episode, it does seem truly straightforward. I mean, the way Kevin like soul kind of came out of his body when he was doing the pain, misery, suffering, like he was legitimately feeling that, because he knew that the other five were just rounding up, being like, okay, this is a chance to take out Kevin. He probably doesn't have the idol. Let's just all throw the votes on him, and that's honestly, the fact that they all seemed in agreement, the five were four were one plus Gia, but still, those five seemingly agreed, and that's where you get the whole situation with just being the game of Survivor as a whole. You never know exactly which plan is going to be the case, and you always have to remember that if you think there's going to be an easy vote, it's probably going to be anything but. And I think we see how this plays out.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. And just going back to what Kevin must be feeling, because any super fan would probably like give up anything to play on the real show. So obviously, you know, being able to play in Rutgers Survivor, being a Rutgers student, being a Survivor fan, Kevin was probably so excited. And to see, at least in this moment, that his game could be crumbling beneath his feet, it must have just felt horrible. And it's not like he didn't want to be there because the game was going wrong. He wanted to fight with everything he had to try to stay in this game. And because of that, and this is why Survivor is awesome, you never know if you're on the bottom. And this is why we are going to talk about what Kevin tries to do and what he's going to do with his plan. And may or may not involve a fake idol. We're going to see. We're going to see. But before we do that, we are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, unfortunately, Max has to go. So he will not be coming back with us. But in his place, we have a special guest. So,
and I want to say before we end, because I won't be coming back, I'm so glad to be back on the podcast with you guys after being absent last episode. It was so great to see the guests you brought on, hear Lewis talk. I'm so glad that you're so excited about the season so far, and he had a lot of great insight. But also, I just want to say, like, I loved watching Kevin. I watched this episode again this morning, and I'm so happy that Kevin participated in the show this season. And you can't deny how much he wanted to be there.
yeah.
He pulled out all the stops. He was fighting and arguing till the very end. And that is exactly what you want to see in a Survivor.
Absolutely. That's the passion that you need to have if you want to not only play the game, but be successful. And that's a big reason why Kevin is still involved in Rutgers Survivor. He's on the board helping out with season 2. And obviously, Max, you being at the helm of that. Like I said earlier, we couldn't have put it into better hands. So first off, great to have you back on podcast as well. I mean, like always nice when the three of us get to talk. But I have a lot of faith in what you guys are going to be able to do this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, no. And Max, like I said, it's just thank you for all you did and what you're going to be doing for season 2. And I couldn't agree more. You know, I know that all those people who audition are probably watching the majority of the Rutgers Survivor content. So, you know, don't worry, guys, you're going to get your chance. I can't wait to watch all you guys. I'm sure a ton of you are super fans. Like I said, that's what the rumors that I've heard. But
Peter, after watching these auditions, I'm so psyched. We have every single one of our auditions brought something different and something very interesting, and I can't wait to see how it plays out in the season.
Yeah, and like I said, guys, I know the people listen. You want to play, you just have to wait a couple more weeks. You're almost there. You're gonna get your chance. Just hold on. You got this. And with that, guys, I think we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna take a break. We're gonna talk about what Kevin does, and we're gonna bring on our special guest. So, guys, see you soon. We'll be right back. This one's going to reveal a lot, I think. Who is the most strategic player? All right. Everyone reveal. Logan, John, Kevin. The correct answer is Logan. So Ashi and Gia get a point. That means Ashi's in the lead. This is the final question. Who do you think will win this game? All right, this is it. Please reveal. Logan, John, Ashi.
I'm already out of this.
And Matt. I'll give you a hint. It's not Matt. So it's not Matt. Let's have a look on this. All right. So there's similar answers and then there's dissimilar answers. So correct answer was Logan. So that means Ashi gets a point, Gia gets a point, and did you have Logan? You had Logan too. Kevin gets a point. Doesn't matter. Ashi, congratulations. You have won the guaranteed final 5. Congratulations.
Pain, misery, suffering.
Hello, everybody. We are back with On the Raritan. I'm your host, Peter Slattery. And like I said before, Max had to leave, but that is okay because we have brought on our special guest. And the special guest, this is a spoiler. So if you have not watched the most recent episode, please watch it. Very important. Spoiler, it is the person who went home. And now it's time to reveal who went home. And it pains my heart but please reveal yourself. Who are you? It is Kevin. Oh man. This one personally, dude, it hurt me so much because, dude, behind the camera, Kevin was just, he was so funny. The confessionals that he recorded, especially near the end here before he gets voted out, there's a couple bloopers we got, and I'm gonna make a blooper reel at some point. You guys are gonna see them. It didn't make the cut, but with all that being said, I guess, yeah. Kevin, welcome to the podcast. It's unfortunate you're here with us now and not when we filmed the finale one, but it is what it is. Like we were saying before, we were talking about the scramble. We mentioned how, Ashi won that immunity challenge. So your hopes seemingly of making the final five were gone. The earth was crumbling beneath your feet, but you had one last play in mind. And would you please explain to the audience what that play was, what you were thinking, and did you think it would actually work?
Yeah, so I had the fake like immunity idol that I had earlier in the game, and at this point I realized the only option was to kind of like act like it was real. And I felt like the only person to like start off with like trying to make this plan happen was to go to Gia and tell her that the idol was real, because I knew she was probably like the most likely to, if anyone would work with me, it would probably be her, just because we were on the same starting tribe. And that's really where my head was at starting with that plan.
Yeah,
My
no,
ultimate goal was probably to get like Logan out, trying to get people to think that I have an idol and try to maybe target him instead of me.
Gotcha. And so that's actually interesting because when I was editing that footage, I was trying to figure out, if you purposely went to Gia first, but no, that makes a lot of sense because, perhaps if you told Logan first or if you told Matt first, they might have just said, dude, it's fake. I'm not doing that. And, nothing would happen. But because you told Gia, that gave you a sense, of almost like validity behind it. So that was really cool. Adam, do you have anything to say about like this potential move? I mean, I feel like
Yeah,
that's the only thing he could
right
do.
on top of that, like if Chia was the first, and this is just a general question about your rationale, Kevin. If I see why you picked to confront Gia first about this plan, what did you think that she would talk to Ashi, or were you going to talk to Ashi to try to just do a free tie or to pull the sisters in together? Was that ever part of a plan, or were you just taking it like every person individually?
Yeah, I thought like the only possible way for me to stay would be to convince the two sisters. So I was hoping that me going to Gia first, she would either talk to her sister, or we would talk all together and come up with a plan. But I didn't realize Ashi had like just more alliances with everyone else, and it was like too hard to kind of like start this plan so late in the game.
Yeah, and it's hard to understate the effect that you initiating this plan caused because, like I said before, dude, it was very clear who was going to go home that episode at that point before you showed it, and then once you showed it, and you were very smart in strategically showing Gia first because, like I said, it kind of spread like a fire, that rumor, and people got really worried. All of a sudden now, instead of it being you, Kevin, it turned into, well, wait, if Kevin maybe has the idol, this is our shot to potentially take out John. This is our shot to potentially take out Logan. This could be Matt. This could be anyone we want. This doesn't have to be Kevin. And I think that plays really into what happens because that's why I'm titling this podcast episode Idol Paranoia, because Kevin, your move caused paranoia. And I hope that kind of showed itself in the edit. I mean, I guess you guys can contest that whether
No, we did.
yeah, because I really wanted it to feel frantic. Like, okay, I'm going to talk to Kevin, then I'm going to talk to Matt, then I'm going to talk to Logan, go back and forth. Who has the idol? What is going on? And yeah, that honestly leads us into the rest of the scramble. So, Kevin, at a certain point, did you feel like maybe this would work?
Um, I thought it was working up until like everyone basically was in the same room, and like obviously Matt knew what the idol looked like, so
Mhm.
he would know it's fake. So he was like, they were all talking about like, is this idol real? And then I went into that room with the fake idol, and then they compared it to like the necklace, and then the the other fake idol that I had. And
Yeah.
like at that point,
Loved that because they
kind of
were
like,
analyzing every little detail, like the string, and I think someone said
Yeah.
maybe they bought it from the same seller on
Yeah,
Amazon. Like,
sorry, I actually thought, I'm sorry to say this, dude, I kind of thought that was a fatal flaw. I really don't think you should have showed the one that you said was fake earlier because, to be honest with you, I feel like Matt looked at the idol that you were presenting as the real one and went, "This looks more real than mine." And I have the real idol, you know what I mean? Because, dude,
so Matt only told he only told Logan, right? So like Matt wasn't just gonna go out and be like, yeah, no, guys, I can confirm Matt's fake because that gives Matt away.
exactly. So maybe that was also a really interesting point too, because no matter who you had in that room, Kevin, as long as Matt was there, you, whether knowingly or not, you knew that he wasn't going to reveal that he had the idol. So he had to probably cringingly play along like, oh yeah, this looks really real. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, that leads us, I guess. Is there anything else in the scramble that we need to talk about? Because that's pretty much what it is. Idle paranoia here. Kevin, was there any other moments that kind of stuck out to you? I know you had a pretty iconic moment with John when you were like, if you keep Logan in this game, I'm gonna take the jury against you. You're not gonna win this game if Logan's still here. Any other key moments you guys think are important?
Well, first off, that moment was a little later on. I think we'll see from talking about Tribe a little more. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts going for that, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
so one thing I did realize though is I think the fake idol, despite it like not really working out well, it showed John that Logan did not have the real idol just based on like how things went out, and like how Logan saw the idol and like scrambled a bit more than usual.
Mm-hmm.
John realized before the vote started that Logan no longer had the idol, so I think that actually helped with like just shaking up the game a bit. But
Yeah, and I completely agree. And yeah, Adam, did you have anything else or no? We think we're ready to move on to Tribe.
I think let's get into
Yeah.
Tribal, what potentially is the most entertaining Tribal thus far.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I mean, I guess in terms of editing too, it was fun to edit because the whole point of this tribal was it's hard to tell because I cut it kind of half and half in the edit, or almost really 30-70% in the edit. But Kevin showed that idol, like all that footage about that scramble before the tribal was happening like 5 to 10 minutes before tribal happened. Like it wasn't like they had a whole hour of discussion. They were frantically trying to figure out, what is this idol real? Yes or no? And I know Kevin, and it was also interesting to see you the last little bit about the scramble, sharing bits and pieces with people. Like when Logan was questioning you, you let him hold it and you let him see the note. And then when John was questioning you, you said, well, let me see if it ends at final 5 or final 6. Kind of forcing all of them to work together and make them think even more that potentially, yes, this has to be the real idol. But now we're going to go into the tribal, which, as Adam said, probably one of the most entertaining ones. I know it was really fun to edit. And the main thing here is, Kevin, at this point that if you don't fully play up this move, that you're most likely going home. There's no way that you can do anything. So, the whole time, I even noticed this when everyone walked in, their body position was like so out of whack. And Adam, maybe you can remember recording this, you could probably even sense that too. They all looked really uncomfortable. They had no idea what was going on. Was your idol real? Was it fake? And, we get the confessional. I'm like, John, what's going on? He's like, well, someone pulled out a fake idol and turned out to be a real someone's pulling out an idol saying it's real. That ended up being Kevin. And Kevin, you gave this kind of cool dialogue back and forth between you and Logan. So kind of why do you think it was so important to get out Logan at this point and not someone like John, Matt, Gia, Ashi, whatever?
I just thought that at this point in the game, Logan would be like the most likely person to go home if it wasn't me going home. And just based on like that challenge from earlier, how like everyone voted for, or like the question was like who's most likely to win. I'm pretty sure Logan like was the most answered for that. So he was probably like the biggest target left, and I felt like John and Gia were most likely to like flip on him over anyone else left in the game.
Gotcha. And Adam, did you have any takeaways from, kind of the back and forth discussion between Logan and Kevin here? Like Kevin was basically, standing on top of a hilltop saying, "Listen, Logan's gonna win if you don't do this." So did you have anything?
Yeah, the craziest thing to me though is just the parallels from the previous tribal council in episode 4. Because Kevin, you were going back and forth with John in that one, basically talking about the same thing. Who's going to be on the jury that could vote for any certain person, as you were trying to flip people to your and Jack's side. Whereas here, it's purely self-preservation at this point, slightly different circumstances, obviously, a final 6, and yet here you are going back and forth with Logan, trying to convince everyone that he'll win. And I think one key line, and correct me if I'm wrong, whether you agree, but one key line that you said in that little debate with Logan was, "It cancels out. They need us both gone to win this game." That was extremely telling. I don't know if other players picked up on it or if it really would have changed anything. But from my point of view, I mean, that was the observation that seemed to unfortunately solidify your fate, because I think they knew that was the case. But anything else you could speak on with that?
Yeah, so basically I felt like my only pitch was just to like try to sway everyone that like Logan's a big threat in the game. He won a immunity challenge and people viewed him as like a good social player. So if they wanted to win the game, I felt like they had to at least get him out before he could even like get to the end. Like they don't want to be sitting next to him in a jury vote.
Yeah, no, and that makes perfect sense. And we're going to take a little break from talking about idols for now. And the other big thing that happened in this tribal, and dude, I am so tempted to make an edit called "What's Your Name Again?" because this is probably the 18th time someone's accidentally said the wrong name in the worst timing possible. We saw this with Ethan, with John and Matt, and now we're seeing it here, ironically, with John, where John is texting Matt during tribal and Max isn't here, but hopefully moving forward, no phones at tribal, because we didn't even think of that. And, you'll see later, we did get some of the content, but, I really rather have it, raw in that video footage format. But, John is texting.
Peter, is just we were undermanned. Only besides you, it was me and Max filming 2 different angles, so we couldn't really interject and be like, "Here are the rules." I mean, yes, we didn't think about it. That is on us to an extent, but at the same time, there's not much else we could have done. And considering the circumstances, I think the format of the game played out as well as it could have. I just had to say that. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I completely agree with you. I think what ends up happening, which I'm going to talk about, is I wouldn't change it in the world, but I'm just saying moving forward, I think for the further seasons, we should probably not have phones at tribal. It just probably makes it better. But anyway, what the big goof was John was texting back and forth with Matt. And he was texting, well, not even just Matt, he was texting with everyone in his alliance, probably Logan, Ashi, all that stuff. And he texts Matt, "Is Ashi doing Matt?" Meaning, is Ashi going to vote Matt? And Matt just, honestly, this is probably kind of the weakest moment in his game at this point, is he goes completely idle paranoid. He has no idea what's happening. Are the votes actually on him? And it's crazy because John, Ashi, and G are like, why is he going crazy? No one ever said his name. It was literally a typo. But to be fair to Matt, this did happen with, Ethan Green, he Boston Green, he was saying, let's get John out, but he was actually referring to Matt, and then it turns out he was actually gunning for him. So this is the whole big goof that leads us into a live tribal. Yes, we are like Adam. I remember when we were recording this, like just this whole season, you were saying stuff like, "I can't believe how much of Survivor we actually get." And this is perfectly unscripted. As I've said multiple times before, we got a live tribal. All of a sudden, Logan was like, "Yeah," and John, "I want to talk more. I think we need to talk more." And they break off. And what we see in this first part of live tribal is it's Kevin, Logan, and I believe Gia, if I remember correctly, are in a group of 3. And then on the other side, it's Matt, John, and Ashi. And Logan's looking over there like, what is going on? Why am I not over there? Why did they leave me? And Kevin, I think you did this, whether you kind of just jumped on the moment or was actually, thinking this thoroughly, was like, dude, they're voting you out. They're getting you out. So, Kevin, did you have anything to say about this first part of Live Tribal?
Yeah, I think I was just kind of like joking around when I said that, but just to like spook him, I guess. I don't know.
Well,
But
dude, I think it worked because, I mean, at least in the edit, especially with the music that I put under it, you can see the panic in his eyes as he's going back and forth, like, okay, why didn't they call me over yet? So I think, Kevin, I actually think he was genuinely serious when he said, which one of those three do you want out? I'm open to new ideas now. You know what I mean? I think that was definitely that. So on top of the goof that just happened with the name and the idol paranoia, I think that just sent everything into a frenzy. We have groups breaking up on groups, all this stuff happens, and eventually all of you guys come together. And all of you guys come together, and John is just saying, Matt, it was a typo. It was a typo, I swear. But Matt is not fully convinced, and we break off. And Adam, I guess at this point, do you have anything to say? You can go into a little bit of the next section, but anything about the live tribal that you'd like to say?
That was something, as you said, we couldn't have scripted this if we tried, and that was the greatest thing. Thankfully, we had Max with us as well, so we were able to get multiple angles for filming. Because if it was like the previous episode where it's just me for the majority of the time, we would have been screwed, frankly. Like it would have been very difficult to get all the moving pieces as it was happening. But thankfully, we did, and let me tell you, just being there, I mean, I didn't know the full story to the extent of what was going on because like I wasn't reading the texts at Tribal. I wasn't in every little subgroup. I don't know what we eventually all see in the edit, and as well as either of you guys. We all know individual little pieces, and just seeing that play out was just incredible. And honestly, there's nothing else that I can truly say about the live tribal other than what happened. Just my genuine level of shock and just not knowing what would happen, because I'm like, okay, literally anything could happen here. For one person that got the most paranoid, that being Matt, because of the John's blunder with the names, Matt's one with the idol. So I was thinking to myself, oh, he might play it. Maybe they probably wouldn't be votes on that anyway, but I don't know what's going to happen. And then when Ozzy was talking about giving up her immunity necklace,
Yeah,
which
and
is the
that's
other key thing, I was flabbergasted. And Kevin, yeah, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts were, kind of like after the dust settled a little bit, when Ozzy gave Matt the necklace. Was that an indication to you that it was potentially game over, or did it really not change anything in the grand scheme of things?
so at this point, I thought I was going home no matter what. So like
Is that why you told John that you would take the jury?
yeah, because when I talked to John in like that scramble, I had no idea if he was actually gonna like vote for Logan like the original plan was or not. I had a feeling that Gia might vote for Logan, but I still thought I was just going home at this point. I don't know why Ashi gave the necklace to Matt, but
okay. So this is actually a very important point that I think I can answer that for you. So Kevin, okay, so we're kind of zooming past now, but basically, to get more into the last little bit of scramble, like we said, the whole fiasco with did John really mean to say Matt? No, obviously that was a typo. We know that after looking over the footage and the text and everything, but he's really spooked. And he doesn't really trust John now. I mean, he trusts Logan, and we see that when he's talking to Ashi. He says, "I really trust Logan, but I don't know about John." Ashi says, well, okay, first of all, he requests that Ashi give him the necklace as a sign of, we are not voting for you, please vote with us. So now zooming past that and kind of entering into that final tribal where everyone's like, all right, I think we understand what's happening now. Same original plan. We go to the tribal, and as I'm talking, I think we have another speech between you and Logan or you and John, but it's pretty much the same thing. Like, we need to get Logan out, is what you were saying. Logan was saying we need to get Kevin out. And yeah, Ashi gives up the immunity. And Kevin, I was completely with you. I was blown away. I was like, did she know what she just did by doing that? Like, she's potentially risking going home. But no, after reviewing the footage, it was actually a brilliant play. Because like I said, Matt was so paranoid at this point that was the only thing, even though he has the idol, he doesn't want to play it, obviously, but that was the only thing that in their minds they could get Matt on board to do the plan. And what is that plan? I guess we have to talk about this. And I have $1 million question for you, Kevin, is why did you vote for who you voted for? But we're gonna talk about kind of what happens. So, like we said, guys, the plan, or I don't know if we have said, but after watching the episode, the plan is pretty much, we're gonna split the votes on Logan and Kevin. Whoever goes home, whoever doesn't play the idol, goes home. So, Adam, do you have anything else to say about that last kind of spitfire before we go vote?
Said, I think we just had to see how the dust would settle. There's really nothing else I could add, and I really want to hear how Kevin perceives this too. So I'm more than ready to get into this.
All right, so Kevin, we all go up to vote, or all the contestants go up to vote, and the votes are read, and there's one puzzling vote. Why did you vote for Ashi? That is $1 million question right now.
So at this point, I knew I was going home, or at least that's what I thought. I thought it was just going to be like 4-1 or something like that.
But whatever it was, yeah.
Yeah, whatever it was. So at that point, I was just not even thinking about the game anymore. I was just like thinking about what I could do as like a joke. And
Get me out of here. I want, as Matt would say, or or someone else would say, I want an omelet. I want to get out of here.
Yeah, so I just voted for Ashi because I just felt like that would be funny. And
oh, dang, dude, it's so
Honesty.
as a viewer, because for all the Kevin fans, and there are definitely some Kevin fans out there. Dude, you had the work, you built up the work, and you just had to cast the winning vote. Well, maybe not the winning, you know what I mean? You had to cast that vote that was gonna, send it to a tie. But realistically, dude, I don't know if you would have been saved at the tie, because at that time, well, let me see. John voted Logan. We know that. You voted Ashi. Who is it? Gia voted Logan, I believe, right? And Matt and Ashi voted Kevin. I'm pretty sure that was the vote breakdown. So,
That's correct. So Kevin, and maybe you can answer this too. Do you think any of the original votes for you could have flipped? Like, do you think Matt, Ashi, any of them?
No, I don't think there was any shot going into a revote that I would have stayed because Ashi, Matt, and Logan had a 3-person alliance, which we saw like earlier in the season, just saw on the edit. So the only thing I would see happening is no rock draw, Gia flips. I think John probably maybe stays, and then it's just me going home anyways.
Yeah, so sorry, in that vote breakdown, I think Logan obviously voted for you. So yeah, it was a 3. Was it?
It was a 3-2-1.
It was a 3-2-1. Yeah. So
which is the other thing about this season too. Like I said, couldn't describe it any better because final 8 of the merge, we have a tie. Final 7, we have a 3-2-2, and now a 3-2-1. For what started with only 10 people and whittling down the numbers, what seems very straightforward tribe by tribe dynamics, we are getting extremely complicated votes. And regardless of how that happens, that is a testament to you guys, seriously.
Yeah, it was a very, very strategic season. And let me think, because in order for you not to go home, I think, yeah, you would have had to flip. Who would it have been? You would have had to flip Logan, which would not have gone through, Matt or Ashi. And
I've been able to revote.
Yeah, in a revote. And I just don't know if that's possible. And man, for what it's worth,
you could have forced it to rocks potentially, but
they wouldn't have done that. They wouldn't have risked it, I don't think.
Yeah,
dude,
I don't think.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you can go.
Yeah, I don't think like Gia would have flipped it, or would have gone to a rock draw just based on like
what happened before. Yeah. And Adam, do you have a question? Now that we're kind of getting to the end of the episode here, do you have a question that you'd like to ask Kevin? Anything specifically?
So Kevin, like we said, probably nothing would have changed, and your outcome, unfortunately, may have been predetermined no matter what the circumstances were. But what I'm curious, just try to tell anyone who may be listening to this before episode 6 comes out. Obviously, we don't want to spoil anything, but at the same
There is a
time, where do you
twist.
see
There is a
where do
twist
you
for episode 6.
okay, yes. So where do you see, but Kevin was not there for that. Remember, he he left the filming session that day. So where do you see the tribe dynamics now that it's just those five that made that move at the merge? What do you think, without saying what may actually happen, what do you think their thought process, those five, how do you think they were about to approach for remainder of the game from your perspective?
So at this point in the game, I had thought that uh Logan and Matt were like pretty tight like in the game, and then I feel like they were in the position to either go with John or join the two sisters, and at that point I had no idea what was happening, so that would be my guess of what was going on at that point in the game.
Fair enough. And then one other key thing that I believe I asked Joe this when we had him on podcast, but just what would, like, obviously you are the definition of a reality TV super fan, and you being a freshman when we filmed this, perfect for you because now you get to be on the e-board, which congratulations, by the way. We'll talk about that for a minute or two.
Yeah, I'd like to ask a
Well,
question about that. Yeah, about e-board stuff.
yeah. So,
Good time.
but real quick, just what was your favorite part about competing, or anything you want to say at all about how we went about the season? Like, like, be honest, give us the feedback. Like, what did you enjoy? Like, how real was it? Like, tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, so I've watched a bunch of like reality shows like Survivor, The Challenge. And I see like all these people on the shows, like Johnny Bananas and like Tony, and they all just like they seem to have a lot of fun with it and like just joke around and like also like strategically play the game. And that's what I came like that was my plan going in. And it actually felt like a real like game show. It felt like what you see on Survivor, and I thought it was like really well done. It was created like the challenges were good, and I think it was like a good representation of what Survivor actually probably is like.
Yeah, dude, and that honestly, that is a thank you for that. That's a great compliment for our end because, like I said,
It does mean the world.
we were a couple of just no nothings who just decided to throw this all together and see what people wanted to do this. And it's amazing that you quoted that too, kind of, or not quoted, but brought up players like Tony and Johnny Bananas because you quoted that kind of in your ending confessional when you got voted out because you said at the very end it's just a game. I'm happy to have fun. And
Disappointed I'm out, but happy I was a part of it, I believe,
yeah,
is what you said.
and that's what Tony says all the time. Like you hear this, it's just a game, man. It's just a game. If you watch a season with Tony on it, and I definitely think that you kind of took that in strides, and it was awesome to see. In the very little time we have left, before I ask you about probably one e-board question, I just want to say we have to get in to what happens in the very end, and it's crazy. It is probably one of our first big twists in the season besides the merge. It is the fact that, well, you guys don't see it, but it is technically a double elimination day. Two people will be going home. However, we broke it up into a to be continued. So, I mean, Kevin,
It was not the original plan. It was going to be one episode, but there was just, with the live tribal and everything that happened, there just ended up being so much content to warrant an individual episode.
yeah, and so we had to cut it up, but yeah, people after this vote, Kevin, after you leave, they have to compete in another immunity challenge, another short scramble, and vote somebody out. But that is all about episode 6, which I'm also editing. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be great. I'm having a lot of fun. I have a first rough draft done. It's going to be great. And with the very little time we have left, Kevin, I just want to ask you, how you doing with eBoard? Congrats on being on the eBoard. I'm happy that you're still able to be part of this club. What are you doing? Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I'm the secretary for Rutgers Survivor right now. We started planning for season 2. We start to have like a cast together. We haven't started filming yet, but we're getting pretty close. And I feel like we've looked at season 1 and like what things went well, what things we should change, and we basically are just going to try to improve as much as we can. But I still think season one gives like a great like blueprint of how to go on in future seasons of creating the show.
Yeah. And honestly, like I said, I'm just so happy that, we get people like, freshman players who will get to enjoy this club potentially for 3 years. And I'm very sorry, but we're practically out of time right now. Kevin, it was just so awesome having you on this podcast, giving us your thoughts about what happened. There's so many amazing parts. I had a blast editing this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Episode 6 should be even better because I think I know what I'm doing now in terms of editing. But yeah, as you guys know, this was On the Raritan. This was episode 5. I'm your host, Peter Slattery. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Kevin. And we're going to see you guys soon. Stay tuned for episode 6.